If you're curious about trying to quit porn and you're trying to explore maybe the best way to do it, you're thinking about just using willpower and going for it. Maybe you've heard some people say, well, willpower doesn't really work, and you want to understand why. Or you've got a lot of fear towards porn, and one way you're trying to combat that is by cutting down your use. Please watch this video and watch it through to the end, because I'm going to give some really important points on why willpower doesn't work, why cutting down does not work at all and is the worst of all possible combinations, and acknowledge the fear around it, but how you can push through that. Okay, so let's start with willpower. So you may have heard already some people say that it doesn't work. So why doesn't quitting porn with willpower work? Not just even porn for that matter. Try to change any big habit purely based on willpower and willpower alone is never going to be sustainable. Because what is willpower? Willpower is effectively you trying to muscle everything. It's using motivation and mental strength to try and push through something. Obviously that can work to a degree when you're highly motivated, when you're feeling good, that can work. The classic thing, New Year's resolutions. And why do they famously always fail? It's because it's done purely based on motivation, willpower. I'm going to do this. There's not necessarily a plan. It's not really a full commitment. It's just pure sort of mental muscle power. But what happens eventually? Eventually you get tired. Eventually you get sick. Eventually, maybe you get drunk. Eventually, the motivation just naturally fades away and that same energy isn't there. And then what happens then? Suddenly, you're not in an optimal state of mind, and that's when you start to make poor choices. And that's exactly what will happen with porn. Eventually, that voice in your head will get to you. You think, well, I've been a month. Maybe that's good enough anyway. It won't harm us to watch again. And then you'll cave into that pressure. So to give a good analogy about this, imagine you've got a bow and arrow, and the objective, what you're not supposed to do, is fire the arrow. You do not want to fire the arrow. Trying to do something on willpower is like pulling the string back. You've loaded the arrow, you pulled the string back, and then you're holding it there. And you can see at this stage, now you're muscling it, you're fighting yourself to keep it there. You know you don't want to fire the arrow, but because you've put yourself into a place of tension, suddenly it becomes more difficult. And your muscles get tired, your decision-making is impaired, you get tired, and you release the arrow. It's inevitable. You will not keep it there forever. So what do you replace willpower with? You replace it with clarity and a commitment and a routine. So for something else, let's say you want to do a new meditation practice. One way of making that cemented wouldn't be to just say, okay, each day I'll do meditation. Eventually you'll slip up or you'll forget. You have to make a time for it when you know you're going to do it until you build that as a habit. So let's say you do it every morning. You wake up, you brush your teeth, then you meditate. So there's no thought into it. You're not thinking about it. And you commit to it. So you're committing to it forever. So there's no decision making. So what we have to do is remove decision making. And that is how effectively you can beat or get past trying to just use willpower. And that's super effective. The next thing I really want to talk about is cutting down. Now, this is where we all go when it comes to quitting porn. This thing, I'm watching too much here. This is getting a little bit out of control. I should do something about it. What should I do? I should cut down. I should regain my control. I don't need to stop for good. That's a bit scary. I just need to cut down, feel like I'm in control again, and then life's good, we can move on. Now, there's a few big problems with this. The biggest issue is that, what are you saying to yourself by cutting down? You're saying, porn is a reward that I need, and that's important to me. Yes, I want to regain control, but what I'm doing is I'm reducing my time watching it so that I'm in control, so that then I can enjoy it even more in the moments that I want to watch it. You're acknowledging that you need to control it, but you're also elevating the status of porn. And you're telling yourself that it's something that you definitely need and that you should go back to. So already from the offset, that's a mistake. What we've said about willpower, by trying to cut down, you're engaging willpower. So you've still got the option of porn there. You know that you're going to come back to it at some point, but maybe you watch every day. And now maybe you choose, okay, instead, I'm just going to watch on weekends or just once a week on a Sunday. Rather than making that commitment and knowing that you're just not going to do it and not battling with yourself every day by just taking out willpower, what you're doing is now through the week, Monday to Saturday, you're building the anticipation or waiting for this moment. So you're actually increasing willpower and you're putting more and more and more stress on yourself. You'll be counting down the days. And suddenly, maybe yes, you're watching porn every day, but it might have not felt too much pressure around it because it was just habitual, it was what it was. But now the pressure's built and it's this big moment. And then you might even slip up in the meantime and feel more shame because you couldn't even make the commitment that you decided to do, which was 1 week. So actually that's the worst of all possible worlds. The person trying to cut down porn is actually going to be in the most amount of stress. So we want to avoid that. Cutting down isn't an effective solution. And so there are examples of people who have quit with willpower alone or by cutting down slowly. But I firmly believe that by doing that, you only make the journey more difficult rather than just making a clean decision. The third thing I really want to talk about, the thing that kind of guides all of this and often guides our decision making, is fear. So fear is very prevalent in and around porn and wanting to quit porn. It's one of the main reasons why people don't, because we all believe that porn gives us something, or we at least believe that we need it in our life for a reason, or that we'll struggle to cope with stress without it. So there's immediate fear around it. The big reasons for that is by quitting, suddenly you thrust those implications upon yourself immediately. Whereas the opposite of that, just staying in that habit and continuing, the next day isn't going to be infinitely worse, right? You're going to just carry on. So you don't see the long-term negative effects immediately. It's kind of like overeating. If you were to suddenly get a big tub of ice cream, have a few scoops, and see what that habit will do to you over 5 years of just say constantly eating an incredible amount of that, you wouldn't do it. But you don't see that because day by day you don't notice the changes. So that's what you're dealing with the fear of quitting porn. You think that you'll quit, you'll feel stressed, you won't be able to handle life, so you don't want to do that. Whereas the worst case scenario of carrying on and things getting worse and worse and worse and worse, which will happen to some degree, you don't see what the long-term compound effects of that are. And so that's why it's also really difficult to do this and to actually commit and take that leap. But that is the whole point with fear. At some stage, we do need to just make a commitment. Like I said earlier about willpower, you have to accept that there is going to be some fear there. But once you can see that porn's not giving you something, you just have to make that commitment. And then suddenly, by doing that, you're removing willpower anyway. And once you take the leap, it actually becomes way, way, way easier than you think. There aren't really serious withdrawal symptoms with porn. It's all about how you frame it. When you make that commitment, if you frame it as, oh no, I'm giving something up, you're going to be miserable, you're going to be sad, you're going to think that you've lost something. Or if you frame it as, wow, this is the first day of my freedom and I can't wait to see where this goes and to continue and see how my life improves from here, that's a positive thing. And so if you make the commitment and then feel happy about it, rejoice about it, and then shift your identity from being a user to a non-user, that will really help the fear and really help make the commitment. Identity is huge for all of us. So if we stop identifying ourselves as users and actually firmly identify ourselves as non-users, the whole thing starts to fall into place. I very clearly identify myself as a non-user right now, and I'll continue to do that forever. There isn't a place in my life for porn. Whereas obviously that didn't used to be the case. That's such a strong place to be. Identity is so powerful. And then one great thought experiment, helping yourself see this clearly and helping remove the fear. If you go back to the younger version of you, so you're about to decide to watch that first video ever. If in that moment you knew that it was going to be a forever decision, if you watch that first video, you see what you're going to be like, say, in the now, and then that's also going to be a commitment to the future that's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. If you saw that it was a forever commitment by watching that first video, would you watch it in the first place? Now, if you're like me, you'll find that a really powerful question, and I encourage you to really reflect on that, ask yourselves that. You can even journal about it. So let's say we're still facing fear around this, and we're not sure whether we want to stop or not. We're left with three choices. One choice is we carry on as we are, nothing changes. We let the fear control us, and we just carry on, and inevitably things get worse. We don't know at what rate and exactly how that's going to pan out, but we know things are going to get worse because that's the nature of it. If we compare ourselves now to when we started watching, things are very different now. So we know that. Another option, we try and cut down, and we apply effectively a lifetime of stress to ourselves. This is what I did for 6 years, to be absolutely clear. I tried cutting down with willpower for 6 years, and what happened? I just failed over and over again. I think the very best I did was 6 weeks. The best, the longest I went. Because I knew in the back of my mind I was going to come back to it. So this is the other choice. We be like me for that 6-year period of trying to cut down and adding more and more stress and pressure to ourselves. Or we do the kind thing to ourselves, the happy thing, and we just make a commitment to stop forever. And that way the fear goes, and it's the best thing for us, it's the happiest decision, and then we rejoice about that. So really as well, when we see that those are three options, which one actually fills us with the least amount of fear? Now we frame it like that. So we make a decision for life, we kill the fear. And we do that as well by knowing that we've killed it, not hoping. We know. We know that our identity is a non-user. And there's so much power in that. I hope you found value in this video. I hope this makes sense. It really is easier to quit pornography than you think, and just the best thing you can do to upgrade your life.